Hello and welcome to another domination battle, a good old channel. Today is going to be Bretonnia being played by yours truly, and Tzeench being played by my good friend Joe. For Tzeench, we do have some blazing squealers, pink horrors, marauders, air cold, and village. I guess over here is Screamers of Zinj and the ROR, Shrieking Skyrays. What I've brought into the good old battle is peasants. Lots and lots of peasants. We have a front line of men-at-arms and shields. I've just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. For peasant bowmen, men-at-arms, pole arms, foot squires, mounted yeomen, I believe somewhere. They're around here somewhere. At least I think that's a call-in that I do. Two Grove Reliquaries, two Paladins, and the good old Fey Enchantress. Which I will say, where is it? Where is it? No? Come on. There we go. Blessing a Lady being on like certain units and whatnot, giving damage resistance instead of physical resistance is definitely going to help out against Zinch and all their magical attacks. Grow Reliquary coming in, kind of just excuse me. Also having the blessing of the lady, but also buffing up these peasants that are around them with the icon of devotion. So that's definitely going to help out with the frontline fighting, with leadership, etc., etc. So there they are. We do end up calling in some mounted yeomen, kind of poking prod over here around objective 1 and 2, depending on what you may or may not send over here. I did see the squealers up there, or not the squealers, but the screamers. A lot of S's in this video, so I might have to go in to DaVinci and use a de-esser, as I feel like it's gonna be bad. But we'll spit it up a little bit, kind of get into the battle. Shooting at the screamers, mounted yeomen are faster than the screamers, so they will be able to get away. Not really doing a whole lot of damage, like I said, mainly because of the barrier that the screamers do have. They're doing a lot of damage right there, but the screamers will basically be able to pull away with no losses whatsoever, no damage taken, just barrier. So we are lining up for the front line fight. Over here at objective 3, both kind of had the same idea. These poor men-at-arms with shields are having what little armor they did have just stripped away from them. We do have an attack order going into these exalted pink horrors, but the Marauders of Zinch are going to end up intercepting them. So a very good play by my opponent. He gets his charge bonus. I don't. Paladins come in as reinforcement, and these men-at-arms are just getting worked. Opponent does call in a soul grinder, good little artillery piece. I believe it doesn't have explosion on his attacks. That is the question. No, but that's fine. It's 5 shots per volley. You do have the peasants of all variety of bowmen in the background, kind of just shooting off. It calls this magical little sword, comes in, beating up these poor men-at-arms, and charging into the unwashed masses. We do end up calling in some Knights of the Lionhearted. Probably going to send them over here to objective 1 and 2 to kind of keep everything honest. But our front line is, naturally collapsing, and I didn't bring forth these Grail Reliquae. They could definitely be used to help out the front lines, but unfortunately I did not. So they're basically wasting money. The Paladins are going to change their focus over here onto Village. And with the support of these men-at-arms shields, a lot of attacks will probably go into the men-at-arms with shields, just the way how, large entities work with different size entities. Peasant bowman with pox arrows are shooting into the old village. He's getting some poison. He's getting worked by 2 paladins. It's basically a matter of time. Aecold just running wherever he wants, as these screamers do end up getting into the back line. But they quickly get surrounded by some footmen or not footmen, but foot squires and pole arms. Over here to the far right, we're kind of just uncontested, which is, good for me. But my opponent is focusing more over here onto objective 3 as more screamers get into the back line and tear apart my poor peasant bowmen. Village is slowly, very slowly getting worked down. The infantry support for the paladins is now gone, so now his attacks will be going into the paladins. But it's a 2v1, and I have faith in the faithful paladins of Bretonnia. Aircode slowly working his way into the back line as these exalted pink horrors are still getting just drugged through the mud by all the arrow fire. We did have a Common Castor, which I unfortunately missed. It completely misses, but it does kind of shut down the pink horrors for a little while. The pink fire Tzeench going down the background, hitting those poor bowmen. These men-at-arms with shield are just here to tie down the soul grinder as Fan Enchantress is a little bit too far forward. Her infantry support is slowly running out, and there are screamers hitting her, and they are anti-large and little menaces. She doesn't have a lot of armor, so they can take her down fairly quickly if they start landing all their attacks. Do end up calling in some Grail Knights. These Grail Knights objective will be going into the soul grinder with their anti-large magical attacks. These pink horrors are being tied down, thankfully, and my opponent does call in some Chaos Warriors with each halberds, and they're hanging out with the Mounted Yeomen. They're both, wondering how each other's days are going. This is a little bit of a, funny miss micro by the two of us. I imagine the Mounted Yeomen are like, hey guys, how's it going? And finally run away as some men-at-arms with pole arms will start going into the Chaos Knights with halberds, or not Chaos Knights, but Chaos Warriors with halberds. Chaos Warriors will end up winning that. We do find some forgotten screamers, so we're getting a little bit of extra value, a little free value. The Enchantress is running from the screamers, as the screamers do end up trying to help out the soul grinder. The paladins do finally beat down poor village. Actually coming out fairly healthy in that whole exchange. Probably something I should have paid attention to. Look around the battlefield here. We do end up getting a rear charge with Knights of Lionheart into the Chaos Knights or Chaos Warriors with halberds. My opponent calls in more Chaos Warriors of Tzeench. Air Cold back here being a menace with his screamers. Air Cold I don't really have a true answer for with its passive healing, and I think he took his Aura of Vines or whatever it's called. Let's see what it is. Yeah, Thorn Aura. So whenever he pops that, it's -8 leadership, -45% speed. Fairly effective against Bretonnia, with Bretonnia being a low leadership faction when it comes to peasants. Grailed Knights are getting a spell here. It is a regrowth, so it'll pretty much help the Knights stay in the combat, along with the Lore Life passive, just healing everybody on the field. Really helping out. You don't really think about it. The lore passives like Lore Nurgle and Lore Life, throwing out every spell you throw out is healing your entire army. Definitely helps out, man. Oh yeah, and Lore Vampires with Invocation of the Heck. But the Soul Grinder will be falling to the faithful Knights of Bretonnia and the Lady. These poor men-at-arms are being forgotten about and just shot to oblivion, because these Mounted Yeomen do end up coming around and going into these pink horrors of Tzeench. Do still have some pit fighting. These Mounted Yeomen archers kind of forgotten about. Let's probably pull them back as the Knights of the Realm or Knights of Lionheart do end up getting a kind of like a little funky little side charge into these. Are they chosen? No, they're Chaos Warriors. Kind of hammering into them, kind of helping out the Mounted Yeomen best we can. Soul Grinder does eventually fall, and Aeokol just being a complete monster in these little thicket of trees right here. He's gonna win. Like I said, I don't really have like a true answer for him, so I'm just gonna keep him tied up to my best abilities. as these pink hordes are slowly getting surrounded. What they are fighting is very like tattered units, but it keeps the pink hordes from shooting, and that's really my main concern here. We do have objectives 1 and 2 and 3 on our sides, along with, you see the gold damage values here at the top left. We are ahead of my opponent, and 2 with healing. It definitely is. I would say the healing also puts us a little bit further ahead than normal. Knights of the Lionheart are getting a charge into these Marauders of Tzeench, but they will have support from the Chaos Warriors of Halberds. As more charge from Knights of the Realm going, it's a pit fight over here. It is a blobby mess. Pink Hordes are able to shoot about 1 or 2 volleys, I believe, and then they will quickly be ran into. You see from a little above these Knights of the Lionheart, it did kind of get thrown away on my end. Though it's only 43 models, it's still more than enough to lay down a hurting on the Knights of Lionhearted. Normally they would win the fight against the Marauders, but again, with the support of the Halberds, it's tough sledding. And here we're just going back and forth into the charging. Kind of just slamming into them. Just cycle charge them into the sunset. Excuse me. Village does end up getting resummoned. Looks like he'll be going over to objective 2, which we do have some support, and we'll be able to get right back into him as soon as all this is kind of cleared up. Has his archers throwing out some shots. Just keep throwing mass into Aecold and keeping him there. He is destroying my poor paladins. Excuse me, sorry about that. But yeah, at this point, I would say with the 3 cap, my opponent would definitely have to find a way to triple cap and hold all 3 of those caps. A lot of these units for me should be unsummoned. So like these peasant bowmen here should be unsummoned. They're very tattered. This paladin should be unsummoned. Something that I'm gonna have to get used to in domination is, you know, these weakened and basically might as well be useless units should definitely be unsummoned. These units need to be pulled back onto the point in case he does try to get a resurgence onto point 3. We do see a vortex spell coming out, and that looks like Tzeench's Firestorm. I've always been 50-50 on Tzeench's Firestorm because it does split off into 3 smaller little gateways, but if the unit is already moving, then it's definitely not gonna slam into them. I've always felt like Infernal Gateway's probably been the more reliable one, which we can look at the Infernal Gateway. It's 100% armor piercing. What about Tzeench's Firestorm? So yeah, that's 30%, but it does flaming and magical attack. So I would probably go with Infernal Gateway just because it has, you know, 100%. All of its damage is armor piercing, which is definitely going to help out against these 90 armored knights. We do have the Fey Enchantress getting a little bit too close to these Screamers, and she's getting tore apart by them. This is very, you know, like I said, it's rough going. This should definitely bring in these Knights of the Realm to kind of help her out. And we do see another Vortex spell coming out. This time it is Infernal Gateway, and you can see the difference. The Grand Infernal Gateway hit, but, you know, it's all armor piercing damage, so it's all going through on these poor Knights of the Realm. Pretty much wiping them out, but that will pretty much be a GG. Look at some of the damage values here, which, you know, Aecold definitely paid for himself and then some as soon as it loads up. There it is, 3,500 value. Very good unit. Very good duelist, I should say. Paladins both paying for themselves. I believe they're only like 1,000 gold, maybe like 1,250, something like that. So definitely paying for themselves. I would say that the Fey Enchantress paid for herself. She did bring in a lot of healing. Poor little peasants. You're not really going to find a lot of cases where peasant, or at least the infantry peasants, are going to pay for themselves. The archers, on the other hand, definitely. For both reinforcements, well, let's also look over here. Let's say this ROR did good, so on and so forth. For reinforcements, if I had to like change some things, one, I would probably definitely bring the Grail Reliquary into melee with the infantry. That's kind of a mishap by me. But thank you for my opponent, and we'll catch you in the next one. Ooba.